Welcome to part 2 or level 2 of our SQL class. When we first began querying databases, our main concern was how do we retrieve rows that we want, right? How do we drop, how do we add, and so on and so forth. Let's say some basic SQL queries. Okay, so at this level, we must now learn how to slice, combine, and structure data so it becomes useful for business decisions. Okay, so for us, SQL is very important. So we'll be paying attention to it. We are going to have level 3 as well. So we'll be paying much attention to it. So the first thing we will do is filtering. So filtering is like you are applying a lens to your data. And from the material I shared with you, I give an example. I said an HR manager may not want to see all employees. They might only want to see active employees or employees hired after a particular year or a certain year. Another example would be a sales manager may only care about transactions from maybe a northern region, southern region, or any region of their choice. So in SQL, the where clause allows us to create these lenses, okay? The where clause allows us to create these lenses. So we have an employee table here, basically working with the data we imported the last time in part 1. So for us now, we will want to do some filtering. We looked at the HR manager who want to see certain employees, right? So we have an employee table here. Let's just see employees from a particular department, shall we? Okay, so we're going to write that query. And we are going to use the where clause to help us create that focus or that filtering. So we'll say select all, okay? And we want that to come from our employees table, right? Okay, from our employees table. Now, the condition, so where, that is why we say the where clause, right? So this is the where clause. Where let's look at it. We said we want to use job title, right? Or let's look at department easily, those from marketing or those from sales, anyone. Let's use those from sales. So say where department equals, now because there's
an N missing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Where department, thank you, Fidelsi. So where department equals we are looking at the content, the text content of the department column, right? So basically we'll have to put the content in a single quote. So where department equals, we want sales, okay? So what we have done here is that we want to filter the employees in the sales department only. So that is what we want to see. We just want to see those in the sales department only. So if we execute this now, we are going to have that everybody here will be from our sales department. You can look at the department. Everything here is sales, or everyone here is from sales. So you see that the query is quite simple, it's quite direct, and that is why we developed the material in such a way that it gives us context, scenarios, so that it's actually a way that will help you study and understand. If you go for an interview, you understand what you are meant to say. If you are working, you understand what you're meant to do in every situation. So you remember we also had a sale table. Let me use this to use various conditions, okay? We say where department equals to sales, or the salary column is greater than is greater than, let's say, 700,000. Okay. This is how best we can use this. So if we execute this, we are not going to have any error. We are going to have department, sales, or salary greater than 700. I just want to show you how this works, okay? So if you have any question, if it's not clear, you let me know. What or does is that, or gives us either of the conditions. It gives us either of the conditions. It selects where we have sales. You can see we have sales in the department. It also selects where salary is greater than 700,000, even if it's not from the sales department. I just want you to see the difference between that. Look at the difference between that, okay? Let me copy this now and paste it here so that we see the difference. If I was to use and, what happens now is that the two conditions must be met. So it's going to give us those from the sales department. It's going to give us those from the sales department and those whose salary is great in that sales department, whose salary is greater than 700,000. They are all from the sales department, and the salary is greater than 700,000. You can see that with these double condition here, we don't have so many people from that sales department. Okay, we don't have so many of them. So if we just do only this, right? If we do only this, you can see we have a lot of about 20 entries thereabout. Okay, 20 employees thereabout. Okay, but if we add this now, it gives us just about 4 employees. So this is very important that we know that we can also filter using conditions like that. Okay, so we have and, or, and not. So once you can filter and group, you need more complex decisions, just like what we did. We need more complex decisions. We have not done grouping, but we'll do grouping, okay? So we have basically done filtering. But how can you now, the question is, what if you want to filter by department and say by job title? You can still use and here, okay? You can use job title where sales is equals and job title equals to maybe sales executive, maybe. So you are looking for sales executive persons directly from job title, for instance. Okay, so you have those from the sales department who are sales executive. So this way you can still do that. But what will happen if you use the or is that you still get sales executive if they exist in other departments. So you know exactly how you can use this. Okay, so let's go to grouping. Let's look at grouping now. Now, what do we mean by grouping? So now you may want to see summaries, okay? For example, summaries like what is the total revenue per region or how many employees per department. So this is where you use your group by, okay? Group by now collapses rows into meaningful categories, okay? They collapse rows into meaningful categories. Okay, so let's do something like that, and I'll show you something quickly too. So now let's that will be from our sales table. So let's basically pull up our sales table so that we'll see. Okay. All right. So in our sales table, we have the sale ID, sale date, region, product, quantity, unit price, employee ID. So from what we have, let's do something concerning grouping, okay? Let's do something concerning grouping now. Let's group based on, or look at summary based on total revenue per region. Let's do that, total revenue per region. So now we don't have any column as total revenue. I want to show us, I'll show us different ways we can do something here. We don't have a column called total revenue, okay? So as we don't have a column called total revenue, we can multiply quantity by unit price to have that total revenue. We can either do that to have that directly as a new addition to the table, or basically just do that as part of our calculation. Something similar to what we did in our first class. Okay, so let's say we want to, okay, let's do it this way. Let's say select region column, and that will say we also want to sum, unit price, and say quantity times unit price, right? Quantity multiplied by unit price. Okay, and we want to present that as, say, total revenue, and all of this will be from our sale table. So we will now say, let's group by times unit price. I don't think there's any spelling error there. So we are selecting region because region is the column of interest. And in that region that is our column of interest, we want to use that region. Then we want to sum a quantity multiplied by unit price and present it as total revenue from our sale table. Then we will now group by the region that we have. Okay? From what we will have here right now, this is not as a table. It's not a table. It's not something that is permanent. This is just like a view that we want to see. We basically want to filter something quickly. This is a view, right? This is something. I won't call it a view, because if I say a view, it won't be correct, because we have another this thing called a view that we connect to Power BI as tables. Okay, so if I call this a view, it will not be correct. So this is all just summarizing our data, but it's not something permanent that we can use. Okay, it's not something permanent.
That doesn't have to be region.
So Fidelsi, you asked a question. You said before, I'll go back to the last question, but Fidelsi, you asked a question. You say, more, do we only have to group by region? That was your question, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I was saying that, yes, we can actually look at calculate total revenue for product and group by product, or a region, right? We can do that, okay? The thing here is we cannot say we want to select region and group by something else. We can't do that, okay? Like you say, if you say, for instance, now, you want to select region and group by product, okay? If we execute this now, you see it will turn in an error. So it says error column, sales or region, must appear in group by clause or be used in aggregate function in line 1, basically. So instead of saying select region, so we have to actually select that column that we want to group by. So if I do this now, this will be correct. So we can actually group by product and select product, group by product. So it must match, okay? I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, it's clear.
Yes. So because PostgreSQL enforce this strict SQL standard, right? So that every column in the select list that is not inside an aggregate function, say like sum, average, and all of the aggregate function we use in the level 1 must appear in group by clause. Okay, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so Isitiala, let's go back to and discuss your question then. The question then, I think, was if we use all, okay? For instance, in this case now, if we are taking away product, say, and use all here, no matter what, it will give us an error. Okay, because it's a syntax error. That is going to be a syntax error. So what it should have been is that Okay, it should have been that we can't use that. We can't use that in the syntax there. Okay, because the all, which is the asterisk, cannot be combined with an aggregate function unless, say, all non-aggregated columns are in the all. Okay, and they are also in the group by. Remember that when we went back to Fidel's question and we came back, because we had to establish that the whatever you use in the select must also appear in the group by. So if we have to agree with that, that means the same thing have to be used here. Okay, so columns must appear in the group by clause or be used in an aggregate function. That is the rule. So what we can do in case we want to say, let's do something. Let's say in our table, let's look at our table again so that we will be informed. Okay, we have sale ID, right? We have sale ID. So let's say we wanted to use sale ID. So we'll say here, we'll say sale ID. Then we have sale ID. Then we'll say comma. We want to also select region. Okay. Then we'll say comma. We have used the aggregation function follows. Okay. So when we come to group by, we have to also indicate that we want to group by sale ID. Then we are also grouping by region. This way, we will be correct based on that syntax, right? So instead of saying all, okay, I don't know if this is clear.
Yes, sir, it's very clear, sir. To me, very clear.
Okay, it's very clear. So this makes us understand the syntax. So thank you for that question, because it gave me opportunity to bring in that rule there. Okay, so remember I said something now. See, now that we have done this, we have total revenue, but it's not that this total revenue appears anywhere in that our sale table, right? If we go there, we don't have anything called total revenue there. Okay, so this is just a summary for us to just see, right? So what if we wanted to add a column total revenue? Is basically, this will have been an assignment I will even give to you, because you could derive it from what we discussed in our level 1 class. Okay, so to add a column, you have to alter the table, right? And then add that column total revenue. You must add the column just as if you are creating a table. So we already have a table, so we can say we want to alter this table, that is our sale table, right? We want to alter this sale table. And to alter this sale table, why we are altering it is to ensure that we can add a column, and that column name is total revenue. Sorry, total revenue. Okay. And now, just as remember whenever we are creating a table, a column rather, or a table and adding columns to that table, remember that we must indicate the data type that will be in that table. And in Postgres here, we use numeric. We say when we want to handle something like numbers, amounts, basically money, finances. So we can say numeric now. We want we will have to put the width, or will I call it the length, of the values that can go into that column. And so let's just call it 18, because we are not sure of those values that are there. Then we want 2 decimal places. Okay. So once we do this, we will have Once we do this now, we are going to have an empty column, okay? If we execute this, we are going to have an empty column. Sorry, I didn't highlight or basic. So we are going to have an empty column. We are going to have an empty column if we look at that table again. That column will be total revenue column. You can see it is empty, null, okay? So let's adjust a little bit. So we are going to see that empty column. So, but this column now, we want to actually calculate our total revenue, which is the multiplying quantity by unit price to fill this up. So we can actually go ahead and do that. So to do that, we have to say we want to now update. So these things are quite direct. I want to update something within that table. So I'll say update. And by the way, since I'm presenting, that's why I'm using uppercase. You can use lowercase, it's not case sensitive. So update sale, okay? That is, I want to update our sale table. So we call it sale. So remember that when I say sale, I'm referring to the table, right? Then I want to set the column, right? The column here that I'm looking at setting is total revenue. It's total revenue. And total revenue should be equals quantity multiplied by price. Unit price, sorry. Quantity multiplied by unit price. So with this, it should give us what we are looking for. So if we go back to our update was successful. If we go back to that table, now we are going to see that we have our total revenue. And each of the total revenue is the quantity here multiplied by the unit price had given us that total revenue. And the total revenue that we got here are decimals, and we have 2 decimal places because we indicated so while adding that total revenue column. You can basically see the data type here, okay, under the column titles, okay. Do we have any question concerning that?
Sir, yes, I have a question concerning the set. The set is for that set intact is for what, sir?
Okay, the set is for what? Now, this set is a keyword that can mean several things in several contexts. Let's look at this our scenario. Our scenario is that we are updating rows in a table, right? That is our scenario. Is that not the case? This is what we are doing. We are updating rows in a table. So, because when we created that column, total revenue, it was all empty. It's null, right? It was empty. So why does it look like we are not updating a column, we are updating rows? Why does it look like that? Because you realize that our quantity and unit price are rows. So the value for total revenue is row based. That is to say that each of the row that we have calculated is based on the quantity and the unit price, okay? Now, we use set here in this case now to update our rows in a table. So we now assign values to that column, total revenue. And in assigning that value, we did what? What did we do? We did a small arithmetic there where we multiplied quantity and unit price. So there are various scenarios where you use set. You can also use set. Let me understand. Is this scenario clear? That's why we use set.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay.
There are questions in the chat.
There are questions in the chat. Okay. Okay. Can we use asked instead of set? Can we use asked? Okay. Now, why we use asked? Asked gives us room for what's it called? For aliases. Okay, as gives room for aliases. And if you come to what we did earlier, you remember I showed that we use as, and say we are presenting that as a temporary column that doesn't really appear within our table. And that is why I gave this example to buttress my point. So what I'm trying to say is that we cannot interchange as and set. We cannot use them instead. We cannot use them. So for set, like I said, set is used to assign values. It's used to assign values like what we have done. We have assigned that value. For instance, sometimes we can set a value using a condition. That is another one. So we can set a value using a condition, but know that we use it to update, right? Here we set total revenue to be the multiplication of quantity and unit price. Okay. For us is used for renaming, that is aliases, aliasing, right? You are giving an alias to a column or a table as a result of a query, okay? As a result of a query. So that is just how it is. So we can't use it together. I don't know if that is clear. Is that clear? Okay. Look at this now. Look at this. See where we use as here, right? We use as, okay? Now we say select. Select just means pull out a particular item for me. So that is what select did. It selected, this query will select our sale ID and our region. Then it will sum quantity and multiply by unit price. Then it will present that result, the result of quantity and unit price multiplied by unit price. It will sum that result and give us in a temporary, let's say a temporary column or an alias column called total revenue. So this will be derived from our sales table, and it will help us group these by what? By sale ID and by region. So if I execute this now, we are still going to have an output. The output we are going to have is this. But this is not a table anywhere. This is not a table anywhere, right? It's not a table. It's just a summary that we have done. It doesn't reflect on our table. It doesn't reflect on our table. So the as, total revenue, as there just gave us a label to a calculated column in the result set, okay? So it doesn't actually store or assign values in a table. It doesn't store or assign values in a table. It just gave us a result set for us to look at, basically, to answer the question, which let me remove sale ID here so that I'll be able to explain this in a very short way based on the outputs. Okay. So let me execute this. So now here, now gives us the summary of all our regions, the south, the west, the north, the east, and central. Say I asked the question, I said, which region have the highest sales? Or summarize sales based on region, or summarize total revenue based on region. So what you do here makes a whole lot of sense, right? So it makes a whole lot of sense. And the only reason why we used quantity times unit price is because we had not calculated any column called total revenue earlier. Okay? We have not calculated total revenue earlier. So see this very clearly, right? What if now I say summarize, get the concept very well. I say that let's summarize region, let's summarize sales based on region, and you do this now. This has no effect whatsoever on your table. So if you go back to the entire table itself now, you wouldn't have seen anything called total revenue before we added this total revenue. You know, we added this total revenue based on this. This one was creating the column. This one was updating that column within that table. Okay, so you can see that as is for aliasing, while set, you use set to create, to add content, to update content within that column in that table. So now this very query you wrote now like this, if we were to copy this query now and say, okay, now I asked the question, can you give me the most occurring, or can you order in how do I put it now? Say I want to see from the highest to the lowest. Would that be ascending or descending order? To be descending order, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we want to sum, say, total revenue and just present it as the same, since we have total revenue. Okay. Then we want to group region by ascending order. So if you group by ascending order, okay, if you group by ascending order, let me close this. So this is what we will get. Let me see, group by, oh, we can't group by ascend, my God. You have to group by ascending order in the total revenue. What am I even saying? You group by, sorry, please. You group by region, and now we add order by, sorry. You group by region, okay? And now we will order by. That is all, adding the order by, okay? We are grouping by region, ordering total revenue in ascending order, please. That is what is meant to be. So select region, sum total revenue as total revenue from sale, group by region, then order total revenue in ascending order. So this will be the right thing. The total revenue here is supposed to be underscore, okay? So that will be the right thing to do. Okay. So now we have them in ascending order, okay? So select region, sum total revenue, present total revenue as total revenue. So we have to put that alias so that, for instance, if you look at this now, so that when we have a presentation like this, okay, it's just a syntax. So if I take these out, what do you think will happen, okay? Because we say select has to give us how to pull something out. So there will be a problem, right? Because total revenue must appear in a group by clause or be used by aggregate function line 5. So we have an issue here, because now if I remove this and we use this now, okay, we have no title. We have sum, right? Because we need to have something to come out. We need to have a report, a summary report. And because we need to have a summary report, it wouldn't give it any title, but just sum, okay? It will just create that sum. But because we want to label it as something that makes sense, so we can say total as what? Total revenue. As total revenue. Now, the reason why that order by did not function was that it's not ordering by anything, because we had given, we say ordered by total revenue, but total revenue wasn't there. Instead, it gave the name sum because we didn't give an alias or a labeling. So now, if we said it should order by this total revenue, in ascending order, this will now give us something correct as we want it to be. This is correct, but we don't just want it to have a label sum. Let it have an adequate label, total revenue. Now we are going to have total revenue, and we are going to have it correctly ordered in ascending order. Okay? Is that clear?
So I have a question, please.
Okay, please go on, please.
I've been able to understand the group buy.
Yes.
So again, concerning the order buy,
Yes.
are
Yeah.
we only order buy on numerical value, or we shouldn't use it on text as well?
No, okay. You can use on text as well. You can use order. You can order by text as well. You can order numeric value. You can order numeric value as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Again, sir,
Yes.
if we haven't ascending printers right there,
Yes.
will it still giving an output like an ascending order?
Let us try that and see. So let's say we remove this and look at the output currently. It started with not, right? So if we had not done that, will it had given us an output starting with not? No. So you understand? It's going to give us southwest, north, and so on. So if we want it to order by, it's very important that we indicate by what are we ordering by. So you can, okay, you can order by descending order, okay? You can order by descending order. In this case, it starts with south to north, or you order by ascending order and it starts by. So answering that your question practically, you can see that, oh, we have basically ordered by the ascending order and descending order. Remember, when you order your lists, say you have text values in Excel. If you order your list, what happens is that when you are ordering something like region, let's say you are ordering region in ascending order, what happens is that it orders, say, A to Z, right? A to Z. But with descending order, it orders Z to A. For instance, let's do something. Assuming this total revenue was now changed to region, let's see what will happen. No? Okay, let's see what will happen here. Are you seeing what I just said? This is what happens here. Are you seeing it? So now you are not ordering by total revenue anymore. You are ordering by region, which is the text. So the text, what the text does in ascending order, it brings it from A to Z. Okay. If it's descending order, it takes it from Z to A. That is, it's going to start from, I don't know if that is clear. It's going to take it from Z to A. Ascending order will take it from A to Z. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I said I was going to introduce having, okay? So both where having can be used as filters, right? So, but the difference is that where filters row before you group, having filters groups after aggregation. Let me explain that with the having. So we have written this query now like this, okay? We have written this and this is what we are going to be, let me bring this down a little bit, okay? So this is what we are going to be expanding. So we had explained what this will do for us, right? So let's go ahead. Now we have calculated the sum of total revenue, right? Based on, because we are grouping by region. So basically calculating the sum of total revenue for each region. That is what we had done. So what if we want to see only regions that have a particular condition, okay? So that is when we will use having, okay, sum. And what are we summing? That total revenue, right? Here, that total revenue, now the condition greater than, what do we call it? Let's see how many figures we have here. So let's say greater than 200 million. So let us execute this and see what we will have. Now, we don't have, that is to see, you see now that all the regions don't have, so let's take some out and see. Okay. I just want us to filter something. So we have this. Okay. Do you understand what I'm trying to achieve here? We use the having to the having condition is applied to the aggregation, aggregated results. Okay, then the final result is what we now order by. So we selected region from our sales table. We calculated the total revenue for each of the region and presented it in a label column called total revenue. We grouped by the region, right? We grouped by region. Now we have grouped by region. We want a condition here. So we now use the having, right? And we want the sum of total revenue of each of the region to be greater than this. Okay. So once that is done, let's order by ascending order. But if you don't want ordering, it's not a problem. It's not that that order by must be there for our query to work. It's not a must. It's just a condition that helps us order, right? That helps us just order by that. And now we can also see that even part of this query is not a must to have a having. Those are conditions, right? The main skeleton of this query is that we want to see, right now you can see that we have about how many? About five regions, okay? We have 5 regions. So you can see that it's not, we don't necessarily have to have these conditions for it to work. So it's just for us to explain some things so that you know how to use it. So here we have 5 regions, okay? But now we want to basically only see regions that meet a particular baseline, okay? So let's say we have a baseline and say for a region to be profitable, it must exceed a particular amount of money, okay? Now, that is why we use the having, right? Okay. So even if you have, let's say, assuming you have a percentage column and you say you have profit margin percentage, you could still use that here. I just want to clarify that we use total revenue here, right? Okay. And you can use having with aggregation. Okay. So now if we do execute this alone, we are going to have only regions that meet our criteria here. These are our baseline. If we execute all of it, we are going to have regions that meet our baseline, but now will be ordered in ascending order. That is just what it means. Okay, you can see that now. Is that clear? Is there any question there?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay.
So the having sum is more like the condition if they want to find out a certain amount of or there's a certain amount of persons that or not or regions that cross a certain value, right?
Yes, yes. And like I said, having is used for with aggregation. So you use having with sum, average, count, okay? That is when you use having. So you use it with aggregation functions, okay? So I want to also use another example to buttress this. I want to use another example. Here we will use, let's see our entire table. Let me see how to do that. Let me see which I will use now. Let's work with this and see. We have quantity, okay. So let's write this now. We want to, let's say we want to select, let's select region as we have been doing. We select region and we want to sum our total revenue, okay, and as, it should come as total revenue, okay. Then let's find the max of quantity and let's represent that as maximum quantity, okay. Okay, so then we will, that will be from our sales table, right? Yes. Then let's group by region. Now let us add the having condition there. Having, so we want to apply max now to the quantity column. And we want to say people who, let's say max, let's use max. Let's use 8 or 7. Let's use 7. Greater than 7. Greater than 7. Okay, so let's end here and see what we have.
So line 3, is it spelled correctly?
Line 3.
As the alias.
Okay, as the alias, whatever we spell will come out there, right? Okay, because the alias is just a label, okay? But we have to thank you for correcting quantity. Okay, it wasn't spelled correctly, right? But it wouldn't have affected our query. Okay, it just be a poor spelling in in our summary. Now let's select region, solve as total revenue, mass quantity. So let's execute this. So you can see this, right? These are output now. So we basically got an output for only for the mass quantity greater than 7. Okay, is that clear? So it only shows region basically that had at least 8, because it says 7, greater than 7, right? At least 8 sales. Do you get that?
So again, I want to ask,
Yeah.
can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is it only because I see that total revenue is in brackets, you know, quantity is in brackets, but region is not in brackets. Is it that it's only the columns that have that has to do with aggregate function that comes in brackets?
Yes, it's like, okay, yeah, I get your question. It's like this. So total is a syntax. When you sum, right? Basically, have this in your mind. Like, assuming you are saying equal a function, you are going to open parentheses, whether it's in DAX, whether it's in the normal Excel function. It's aggregation function, right? And even if you are counting, even if yes, count is still an aggregation function anyway, but count, max, mean, average, sum. So if just put it this way, this is a simple way to just think about it. Assuming you say equals, you say sum is a function. You want to apply that function to a particular row or rows. So you have to complete that in parentheses. That is the syntax. If you take away them, that wouldn't be correct. Okay, is that clear? Okay. So now,
Sir,
yes.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, could we have just said having quantity greater than 7? Okay, no, don't worry. I understand it. I said it out in my head. Yeah.
Okay. Now, having is used with aggregation function. So let me give another example. Let me just copy this. And again, I appreciate your questions. And let me copy this now. Let's do something else now. Let's say we want to show only region with at least a particular sales record. Okay, so let us do this now. We are written select region already, and we actually calculating the total sum per region and presenting it as so. Now we are going to, instead of max now, we want to basically remember what we are doing. We want to show only regions with at least a particular amount of sales record. So let's because you know that South, there was nothing like just South, right? So we had a lot of sales record from South, right? So what we'll do now is that we will say count. We are going to take this line out. So we want to count all as number of sales. Okay, count all now as, let's say, number of sales. Okay, so what will change now? We would have to change this having. So now it will be having count greater than, that's greater than 50. Okay, so let's apply this. So we didn't have anywhere that the count was greater than 50. Let's make it 8 and see, because of the our data set. Okay, so basically from our data set, we don't have anyone that the count of total sales was greater than what is it called, 50. So let us use, so we can see that we have 12 here. Let's use greater than 12 and see what output we have. So you see now that here we now have an output that shows us regions with at least. And you can see, right, because having is gives us a filter condition. It doesn't affect what we sum. I don't know if you get the point. It doesn't affect what we sum as total revenue. It just gives us a filter. Okay, sum these, but I just want only region that will have sales count greater than 12, for instance, right? If we did not have this having condition, what we will have had was, let me see, what we'll have had was the entire 5 regions, okay, with the total number of sales. At least we can see here that, okay, the total number of sales was, and by the way, you can even go ahead and add average if you like, average of something if you like, basically being creative with it. So is that clear, please? I don't know if I was clear with that. Is that clear? Do you know what we're trying to, what we're trying to achieve? We are just trying to be flexible and to cover a lot of things.
So can you express greater than or equal to in having?
Yes, you can, because what if you wanted 12 to still appear? Because if you say greater than, you wouldn't have, if you say greater than, you wouldn't have 12 anymore. So yes, you can use all comparison operators, right? You can use equals, you can use greater, you can use less, right? What else do we have? I've called greater, less, equals, greater than or equal, less than or equal. So you can also use not equal, right? This is what I thought you meant. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
This is what I thought you meant. Okay, so if you run this, execute this, you are saying not equal to 12. Okay, so this, are you getting it?
That is only 12.
That is not equal to 12. Having count that is not equal to 12. So it also is the same thing as this, not equal, right? The same thing as this. That is to say, I know that there's 12. Oh. You know that, okay, let's do this now. Let's do this now. If I execute this now, I'm going to see all of the number of sales, right? I'm going to see all of the number of sales. So I now know that there's 12. Basically, 12 is the least. I could either say greater than 12 or I don't want 12, any one that is not equal to 12. So if I say having counts not equal to 12 this way, what I mean is that I want, just give me everything, but not equal to 12. Are you getting it?
Yes, everything except 12.
Everything except 12. Thank you. Everything except 12. So this not equal sign, this sign is not equal, right? This sign here that I highlighted is not equal. The same, it means exactly the same, not equal. This sign too, not equal. Okay, it means the same thing. So if I change this to 22, it will give me everything except 22. Okay, so that those two signs actually will give us the same result. So remember, I say we have greater than, you have less than. So if I say less than 22, it will just give me results less than 22, right? If I say greater than 22, it will give me results greater than 22. Okay, so we have basically used the less than, be greater than or equals to. So we have used that. So like I said, SQL is very important for data analysis. So we are still going to have a part 3. We are going to have a part 3 where we'll talk about joins properly. So now we are going to look at an area about, we are going to talk about reusable queries. That is CTEs and subqueries. And by CTE, we are talking about common table expressions, okay? So I'm going to define what subqueries are. I'm going to define what CTEs are, but I already captured them in the material I sent to you. So subqueries are queries inside a query, okay? They are queries inside a query. For example, we first find the average salary. Then in the outer query, we now compare each employee's salary to that average. So that second part is a subquery. Okay, that is a query inside a query. So we are going to look at examples though. So what about the common table expressions? Common table expressions are better. They allow us to name our substeps. So making queries more like a recipe, okay? Instead of just dumping everything into one big pot of soup. Okay, so we basically can prepare our ingredients step by step. Okay, so now CTEs make queries easy to debug. They make queries, allow queries to be usable, reusable, right? And let's give an example of a CTE. So with CTE, we can actually get with CTE, we can actually create kind of a table. And we will also, because CTEs are temporary tables, right? In the part 3, we will learn how to create views from CTEs, okay? So we'll learn how to create views from temporary table. No, that wouldn't be that wouldn't be level 3. It would be level 4, because then we'll already be going into visualization level 4. Okay. So we have sales, right? We have been working with our sales table. Let's look at our sales table so that we'll see what can apply there. Okay, so we have region. Okay, let's go ahead and do this now. So now we will, yes, you say?
Can you just maybe quickly explain, like, in what scenarios would you need an alias?
Okay, in the scenarios that you need an alias, you need alias during joins. You need aliases during joins. You need aliases when you are pulling up summaries. Okay. You need aliases when, let's say, when you are using aggregate functions. Okay. So when you use aggregate functions, like we saw before, if we remove these, let me take away this as here, this as total revenue to showcase something. Let me remove that to showcase something. Okay. So if we execute this, count as number of sales. So okay, this wouldn't have been the right place to do that. Except I want to, let me take this out. Take this out as well. Okay, just do this only. Okay, so if I do this only now, you see that we have some here. So it's just, if we don't use aliases, we will not be able to label it. That is one example. Okay, that is one example. Like I said, we also use aliases in expressions. So like when you do when we do a mathematical function, like say unit price times. Let's say we want to calculate how do you call these things? So when you give discounts, right? Discounts. Let's say we want to apply discounts to our calculation. If we want to apply discounts to our calculation or calculate tax, for instance, we want to calculate plus tax, okay? So that arithmetic calculation now will come out. We need alias to help us name our computed columns, okay?
Okay.
Let me give an example. Let me see, where is that table? Let me get out the whole table so that I just give an example. We have seen one example. What about the second example? Let's say, assuming that we want to multiply our total revenue, okay? We want to have an alias, okay? As let us see, including taxes. Let's see. So I think we have, I don't know the new tax, this thing. I think it's 7.5. 7.5, that tax, 7.5 divided by 100 will give us what? 0.075, right? So we can multiply by 0.075. So let's say we say select, we just want to select, let's say select region as we have been doing, or let's use product, select product, okay? So that will apply that to product, select product. Then we want to multiply, let's see, total revenue. Okay, let me just put it here. Total revenue multiply by 0.075 as, so that we now put an alias. So as revenue with tax, okay, revenue with tax, okay? So we'll say from our sale table, let's see what will happen here for us. Okay, so you can see what we have here. So now what we did was we multiplied our total revenue by 0.05. So it basically gives us our revenue with tax. If we take away these alias, what happens is it basically will give us this. Are you seeing? You can see that,
Yes.
right? So no column name, okay? So this will be better. So that is using with expression, right? When we use expressions, and you can even to give us that this question mark, column, question mark kind of this, because we have a result, and it will definitely give us that column with the result, but without the name. So it will be best to use alias. Okay. So another one that we can, another place or another way we can use alias, where alias can be used again, is when we are reusing in order by or having. Remember now, like here now. So we have, let's see, order by, where we had order by. So we can reuse alias. This place we reuse alias. There was no total revenue here. If we are taking away this, total revenue, it will not be able to order by. If we take away this now, let's take away this one now. Okay. Let's take away this alias. And so it will have nothing to order by. That is it now, right? Order by, right? This order by now wouldn't work because it cannot reuse it. But right now, if we replace it and execute it, we can see it. So that is another place where we have to reuse. That is with order by or having, yes, or having as well. We can reuse that. So remember, I talked about aliases in joins, right? When we join multiple tables, So we need to give aliases to join multiple tables. Okay. For instance, we have employee table, right? We can alias it employee table as E. We can say E will be mean employee table. Then we have sale table. We can say S will be sale table. Okay. So we can basically join that. Okay. Yes, and many more that I can't really just remember at the top of my head now. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So let's basically look at the CTE as we have the definition section and we have the main query section. Okay. Let's look at it like that. So now let me write a query. I had something like this. I hope it doesn't differ from the one I sent to you in the material, but I have something like this. So we have a sale table, right? And we have regions, like what we have here, region. So we can basically define a CTE, call a CTE a regional sales. So we define CTE width, using width, okay? So we'll say width, width like this. So we'll say width. So we'll say regional sales. We're working on creating the CTE, right? And we said the key indicator of the CTE is the width clause. Okay, this width clause. And this width here defines a temporary result. The temporary result now will be set to what we say regional sales, right? So that will be the temporary result that exists only for the duration of the query. So let's go on. So we said with regional sales as, okay, we open parentheses. Let's now write, let's continue that first part, okay, of creating the temporary table. So we'll continue now with select region because we have been working with region. Select region, okay, and we want to select region. Then we will now sum, just basically what we have been doing before, sum total revenue as total revenue, okay? So we'll sum total revenue okay, as total revenue. Then definitely from sale table, that's a table name, right? And we want to group by region, okay? So basically now this creates a temporary table containing each region and its total revenue. So this is where this is what this part. So this, you can bring down this parenthesis here. You can bring it down there. You can leave it down here. So this is basically like the first part. But you know that we created, we defined a temporary result set to regional sales, right? So if we do this is just like the first part, right? So we actually have to now write the select part, okay? So we will write the second part. So what we have here in this temporary table, how many columns do we have here in this temporary table? We have region and we have total revenue. So this is what it looks like. We have region and total revenue. So we can now say select region, total revenue, region, total revenue from now this entity, regional sales, okay? from regional sales. Okay. Now, let us add some condition to filter the CTE to return only the region with the highest revenue. Okay. So only the region with the highest revenue. So let's do this. Only the region with the highest revenue. So we'll now use the where. Okay, we'll say where total revenue equals, we'll say region with the highest revenue, right? Total revenue equals, open parentheses, select the max of total revenue, okay? The max of total revenue from our CTE, which will be regional sales, right? Regional sales. Okay, so let me close this one here because max, you have to close in parentheses. So this one, we have to remove this parentheses so that it's just open and close parentheses here. So with this, we are good to go. Okay, let's see. Voila. Okay, so let me continue. So I said that the CTE makes it readable. Like you see now, we have the title, what is it called? Regional sales to our immediate results. Okay, so without this, if we're creating something like this, we are going to have a lot of nested subqueries that will be hard to read and debug. That is, it may give us plenty issues by say syntax errors, right? So secondly, the CTE helps us to avoid repetition, right?